Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
Well, Lou Terminello's back on Terminello's Take, and the circumstances surrounding his fellow Italian, Tommy DeVito, alongside his winning and the whole, I don't know, Lou, I want to get your take on this. The whole mob talk surrounding DeVito, isn't that kind of gross? Because he's just trying to win a football game, isn't he?
Alex, thank you for having me back. Yeah, I think it is kind of, let's just say it's in that gray area where I just don't think that's a positive to what the kid's doing. And basically it could be implied as a slur against Italian-Americans. Again, that's all I'll say on it. I think they might have gone a little over the top with that instead of just talking about the positives of what the DeVito situation has brought. I mean, obviously the kid lives at home, which is fantastic, and he's loved by his parents, and it's basically what we're missing in America a lot. We don't have that kind of family unit anymore, and it's good to see, and it's refreshing to see. And the kid has North Jersey moxie, and that's a great thing.
Well, the hand gesture has become now a merchandising point for a lot of people, and it's kind of DeVito's way to celebrate. And no one can really explain what it is. Can you, Lou Terminello, explain what that hand gesture is?
Well, that hand gesture can mean a lot of things in different parts of Italy or in different parts of Italian-American neighborhoods. Sometimes that hand gesture means, oh, what are you doing? Or are you crazy? Or when you're frustrated with somebody. But obviously with DeVito, when he does it, looking to his parents, it's a good thing because he does it when they score a touchdown, get a big first down. So like I said, being Italian-American, a lot of these slangs, a lot of these motions mean different things in different parts of Italian-American neighborhoods and actually even overseas in Italy. But when where I come from, where they do it, it's like, what? Like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? So now, what is he doing? He is performing, and his improvement since his first two starts, the Raider game, the Cowboy game, has been remarkable. The kid must be a tireless worker, and he must be a quick learner. He had 219 yards last night total between rushing and passing yardage. That was very impressive. How long is it going to last? I don't know. I mean, obviously, everybody forgets as we're in this Tommy DeVito mania that the Giants have a $40 million a year quarterback who is going to be a quarterback next year. But what Tommy DeVito is doing, he is building a case for himself that he could be a backup quarterback. He could be a starting quarterback. Nobody thought Kurt Warner, when he was bagging groceries at the supermarket before he got his chance to come out of the hinterlands and arena football, he was going to win 2 MVPs in the NFL, win the Super Bowl, and be a member of the NFL Hall of Fame. So you don't know. But what Tommy DeVito is doing, besides injecting life into a very disappointing Giants season, he's setting himself up. He can have the best job in the world if he doesn't become a starting quarterback, and maybe he will be. Holding on to that clipboard for 10, 12 years, like we've seen people like Colt McCoy do and others, David Carr, Derek's brother, holding on to that clipboard for 6 or 7 years at a time, you earn a lot of money. You learn a lot about football. You can become a quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator, a head coach. So kudos to Tommy DeVito. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. He is.
Well, behind all that, DeVito hype, and by the way, I think you're blessed in the NFL when your initials literally are TD, and he wears that TD around his neck, which is a sign of something, But I gotta say, all seriousness here, I'm looking at the playoffs picture. I mean, they're not too far away, and I'm not trying to get too excited here, Louis, but you look at it, they're in the hunt now.
Well, I think it goes back to what we said as we previewed the NFL season. the NFC is going to be more manageable than the AFC. There's 11 teams over 500 in the AFC. There's only 6 in the NFC. Now, the Giants have a winnable game. Tough place, though, to play in New Orleans for a young kid, and for the team. But it's not an impossible game to win for the Giants on Sunday. Not at all. I mean, New Orleans, they're right there. They're right around 500. The NFC South is not good. One of those teams is going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division, whether it's Tampa Bay or Atlanta or New Orleans, probably even at 8 and 9. But
isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane? Now, one other thing here about DeVito I want to say is I think everybody's fallen in love with him because of the blue collarness of him and his family, and it's just like any other family tailgating outside Giant Stadium. That's what Fox was highlighting a couple of weeks ago. That, hey, their family just like your family, and how relatable is it when you can relate to a player on the field? I think that's the best thing when it comes to sports, when you can relate to that player on the field.
It's the best thing that comes to sports. And I was talking to my brother this morning in Florida. And when they were talking about Tommy DeVito, how his love of chicken cutlets, as I love chicken cutlets, whether it's in a sandwich, whether it's Parmesan, however, my brother said to me, it reminds me of the days when our mom would cook chicken cutlets. And like you said, what you just said, you can relate to him. He's a metropolitan guy. I mean, he went to high school basically 5 miles. 10 miles from where I used to live, and it's a Don Bosco Prep is a powerhouse high school football program. They're the Alabama of Bergen County, along with Bergen Catholic. They've won multiple titles. DeVito won a championship in MetLife Stadium back in 2018 or 2016. So yeah, you can relate to the kid. There's no doubt about it. Whether you're a Giant fan, whether you're not a Giant fan. That's for sure.
Don Bosco Prep's a very recognizable name in sports. That is for sure. Now, Lou, I know you're burning up about what's going on the other side of the coast here because, and we'll get to Zach Wilson in a second. But this Ohtani thing is all, DeVito and Ohtani have taken away the whole news story for the weekend. I mean, Ohtani's contract and the deferral. What is your take on that?
Well, yesterday when that came out around 6:00, my phone started blowing up. Baseball from all my people that I know in sports. Baseball can't allow this to happen. The Dodgers circumvented the contract, stuff like that, and now we find out that the Dodgers didn't break any rules. It's in the players' collective bargaining agreement. There's no limitations on deferred money. They still will be hit with a cap hit of around 46 million. Again, it's complicated how it works, but do I think it gives teams like the Dodgers, and we know all the big name teams we're not going to talk about, don't have to run down the list, we know who they are. I think it still gives them a little bit of not a little bit, it gives them an advantage in trying to fill in other holes. That now that this deferred money does help them out in some way. I don't like it. It's another reason why baseball should have a salary cap, just like the NFL, just like the NHL, and just like the NBA. You've got to have a salary cap. Yes, I know there's a luxury tax, but it's different. So basically what the Dodgers did, and we'll just go with the numbers, forget about the deferred money. They basically paid a designated hitter $70 million, or they paid a designated hitter $35 million, and a guy who's going to pitch for them in 2020, $35 million each. $35 million next year to be DH, $35 million moving forward, even though he's getting, he's going to get all his money. I don't know how much better a hitter Ohtani is than Juan Soto. Their numbers are similar. They both have high on-base percentage. Now, of course, Ohtani's marketing power is off the charts. Nobody could really match him right now internationally. Every Dodger game will be televised in Japan on some network. Ohtani makes $45 million a year outside baseball. That will probably double now that he's on the Dodgers. Is it going to help the Dodgers attendance wise? No, because the Dodgers average 3.5 million a year anyway. So it's not going to help them as far as filling up the stadium. Like, say, if you went to San Francisco, which had those years of sellouts, but now that they're no longer a contender, needed a shot in the arm attendance wise. So, but the Dodgers are good. I guess the top three hitters in their lineup, I don't know what the lineup's going to look like. It's going to be Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani. I mean, pretty good. That's for sure.
That's going to be some lineup. But I tell you, I also admire that the Dodgers are trying to utilize this to get more on the pitching side. I see they want to get Glass now from Tampa now. I mean, this is some leverage. And is it a leverage that other teams that want to make these high-profile signings can learn from?
Well, remember, the reason that the Dodgers weren't successful in the postseason the last 2 years, even though they were the favorites going in along with Atlanta, is not because they couldn't hit, is because they couldn't pitch, whether it be guys being injured or just ineffectiveness. And, you just have to go back, look at those games. And they were down 6-0 in the first inning one game. So it's.
I think they gave up 11 runs one night to the Diamondbacks, right, or something.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. So it wasn't the pitching that did them in. It wasn't. Excuse me. It wasn't the hitting that did them in. It was their pitching.
But what I mean is the way they're leveraging this contract to try and get others now. Is that a lesson for other teams? That, hey, when you have a major signing, do what we did, and then you can get more guys on. Or is this just the Dodgers showing off now? I mean, what are your thoughts on them trying to get more out of this deal through the deferral?
Well, remember, sports is a copycat. They say it's a copycat league, no matter what sport it is, no matter what league it is. Oh, sure. I'm sure people are going to teams like the Red Sox and the Mets and the Yankees and the Cubs, those big money teams might look at it and say, you know what, we'll structure our contract that way for somebody along those lines. Who that may be, I don't know. But obviously now that Ohtani is signed with the Dodgers, now I guess we'll see some other movement either via trade or free agency. One thing that I'm going to make a point here. This has nothing to do with Ohtani's contract or who he signed with, even though he signed with one of baseball's glamour teams. It was announced 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, baseball has to do a better job than when they have their biggest name. The only time in his career is going to be a free agent. I'm not saying set it up like LeBron did when he made that had that idiotic show and, I'm taking my talents to Miami, but somewhere in between there. I'm not saying that show is the worst thing that they did to announce where he was going, but somewhere in between.
Oh, it was pretty bad, Louis. I gotta say that whole thing, because he let on so many teams in that process. LeBron did, just for that one little selection. I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way.
And you're right, but again, it was on national TV. I think it was on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Everybody was watching. Again, not saying that it was a good or a bad thing. And I agree with you, Alex, no doubt. I totally agree with you. But I mean, I'm out of my house. I'm driving around, and I get an alert that he signed. I mean, they should have set up differently. Baseball doesn't know how to market itself anymore. It's really doing a bad job. And here you have this unique talent, and they just didn't take advantage of this signing. This was a one-in-a-decade signing. And 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon during Christmas time, when people are going to the malls, doing shopping, getting ready to watch the Army-Navy game if they're home.
Right.
And I just saw it on my phone, and that's it. Nothing. There was no special on MLB Network. No Ohtani breaking news special, nothing on ESPN.
Well, also, you got to think, I think it's personality. Ohtani doesn't seem to be a flashy guy. So he may not have wanted it that way, too. I'm thinking he had a role in that. But I got to say, you're right. And, oh, by the way, it did break the internet, however. I got to say that. It did break the internet. But you're saying they could have done a different approach to it.
I'm sure. Oh, we all on the internet were following it, for sure. And the good thing is, you can, with the internet, you can go back at any time. You don't have to see it in real time. But Major League Baseball, the Dodgers should have went to Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, and said, he's going to sign with us. What do you want? What do we need to do to make this a big time thing? A big time announcement. And it's a missed opportunity in my estimation, as somebody who worked for a pro sports team in marketing and sales. That's all.
I'm a little concerned the way he ended this year health wise. I mean, I don't think he's going to be the pitcher hitter they think that they're going to get because of, and maybe he's not designed to be that anymore. What do you think?
Well, again, I'm not a doctor. I mean, I didn't do his UCL operation. They said he's going to be fine. I think the same doctor who operated on Aaron Rodgers' Achilles did his Tommy John surgery in August, and apparently they say he's going to be fine. But again, Alex, the most innings I think he's ever pitched was like around 160, and he's going to, he'll be in his 30s. And again, as you know, these 10-year deals. And I know in Ohtani's case, there's more of a hook than in a normal 10-year deal, which usually backfires anyway, especially last 3-4 years of that deal. He's going to be 39 years old, 38 years old. I don't know how effective he's going to be. He hasn't played the outfield in 2-3 years, so he's going to be a DH. And did the Dodgers really need a DH? J.D. Martinez, what they have, 33 home runs and 115 RBIs last year? How much more is Ohtani going to give you? Again, I'm just saying, I am not knocking Ohtani's talent. He's a unique player, but please, let's get away from that Babe Ruth comparison, because Babe Ruth pitched 300 plus innings 2 straight years. So, among
Absolutely. And we talked about him in August, about the comparison and contrasting between him and Ruth. And you had said, Ohtani's great, but he's never going to be the Babe Ruth of our, the Babe Ruthian stats, if you will. Like he's
never.
No, because that was something you will never see again. And we never even did get to see it because we weren't alive back then. But that being said, the one other thing about this is there's 2 other thoughts about all this. The rippling effects of this trade now, they're trading with the Yankees. I mean, can you break it down for us for a second? What happened with that?
Well, again, they have to find roster space on a 40-man roster, so they're making some roster moves. And again, some teams are going to take advantage of it. And obviously, the Yankees thought that Victor Gonzalez and some of the other guys that they got recently are going to help them. And Brian Ketchman knows what he's doing, even though some people are sick of him and don't think he should be the Yankees general manager anymore. He has proven that he's had a successful career, and it's hard to doubt him. Obviously, they were able to get Juan Soto really for 5 mediocre prospects players. And if you heard AJ Prella after the trade, AJ Prella really sounded down. I'm not sure he wanted to trade Soto, but the thing that we talked about probably last week and the week before is that those regional sports networks, Valley Sports, that have gone belly up and couldn't provide the Padres with their TV money, and that the Padres aren't the only one, and it's not only in baseball. I know the Suns, the Jazz that had a deal with Valley Sports, the same thing is happening. So it seemed like that money cost the Padres, or partly cost the Padres, Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto is going to be fantastic for the Yankees. I have no idea if he's going to re-sign with the Yankees. Who knows? I would say they have a more than 75-80% chance of re-signing him. I don't think they'll re-sign him before the season, because if they do, that would go against Scott Boros's strategy when he has somebody in his walk year. But we'll see. But they got a tremendous player. I mean, Judge and Soto back-to-back, both guys, not only sluggers, but both guys with 400-plus on-base percentage.
And we know, you talk about the San Diego Padres' financial troubles. I think losing Ohtani for the Angels is to cap off a really bad year financially, too. I thought Moreno was going to give up the team at some point during the season. I mean, the Angels are not managed that well or owned that well, are they?
They are not. And just think, think where he went from to. He went from the Angels in the same market to their competitor for sponsorships, for TV ratings, for radio ratings, for brand recognition. He went to the Angels' rival, the Dodgers. 31 miles separate both stadiums. It would be just like if Aaron Judge had gone from the Yankees to the Mets last year. That's another thing. In my opinion, the Angels are dead in the water. Dead in the water. Really, as they would say, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Well, we'll have to see. I know the Dodger town, and you and I talk about this. You've seen the Dodgers win a 162 game World Series, or at least a full season World Series. I have not. All right, so I'm still waiting to see that happen, and maybe with Ohtani, but they gotta get the pitching. So we'll keep an eye on how that progresses over the next few months. I know spring training's going to be wild as ever down in Arizona for them. But now I want to switch to back real quick to the Jets, because Zach Wilson, 30-6, arguably one of the best games he had. He made his throws. I know you're not going to still say he's the quarterback of the future, but an upset win is an upset win, Louis.
Oh, no doubt about it. I thought the second half of the game, and there was no score at the half. It was a heavy rainstorm, which really hurt both teams in the first half. There was 11 combined punts. It actually was little or no rain in the second half. Zach was tremendous. Everything that you thought he could be, he was. That first drive of the second half on 3rd and 12, he's being chased. He's rolling to his left, and he throws that pass diagonally to Garrett Wilson, that big gain for the first down. And on next play, he threw the touchdown pass to Randall Cobb, who came off the healthy scratch list to catch his first touchdown in the Jets uniform. He was fine. He took command of the huddle. All those things that we were criticizing him about, he did. Now, can he do that on a consistent basis? We saw that a little bit in that Kansas City game, which was his other good game of the year. But he was tremendous in the second half. Again, I am not going to have an overreaction and say, okay, now they have to keep him next year. Rogers came out on Pat McAfee show last week and says, I love the kid. How much influence does Rogers have over Jet management? I don't know. They did cut one of his buddies last week, Tim Boyle. But, I mean, Zach obviously has shown that there is talent there. But maybe, Alex, it'd be best for the Jets and for Zach Wilson to go somewhere else.
Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. They have, unlike the Giants, very little playoff hope, because, as you say, the AFC is so tight already that they're not there. I want to flip to another sport, though, because last night, as amazing as it is, John Tavares got his 1,000th point at UBS Arena in front of the Islander crowd, which he left heartbroken. And the fans were not happy they honored him at the end of the game. But you know what? Class act by the Islanders, because a lot of those points were done in an Islander uniform, were they not?
Yes, they were. And his 8 years with the Islanders, Tavares was great. I think, as I said to you many times, I think if Lou Lamoriello had been there earlier instead of 3 weeks before free agency hit, I don't think that Tavares would be a Toronto Maple Leaf. I have a feeling he would have still been an Islander, or they would have traded him at the deadline, and because the Islanders got nothing for him, because he said deadline. So he did the Islanders a little bit wrong there, but he was a terrific play for the Islanders. And the Islanders did waive the players coming on the ice, which is against NHL rules, but the league talked to them early in the day saying that if he scores his 1,000 point tonight, the bench is going to come out, and they did that. So that's fine. He's a terrific player. He's improved his game so much, especially like taking faceoffs, and he won a big faceoff last night, which led to the tying goal with 6 seconds to go. And thankfully, the Islanders were able to win it 40 seconds into overtime after winning the game in overtime on Saturday night, 13 seconds into overtime. So Barzell and Horvath are playing great. So we'll see what happens. But great for John Tavares. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet, but he was a terrific Islander, and he always played hard.
I think what everybody in the hockey league is wondering, and I think the same with the Oilers, is what the F are these teams missing? Because you have a Tavares, you have a Matthews, then you have McDavid and Draisaitl up at Edmonton. What are these teams missing that they're not getting to that cup level?
Well, it looks like they're top heavy. Let's look at the Leafs. It's Tavares, it's William Nylander, phenomenal player. It's Mitch Marner, phenomenal player, and it's Austin Matthews, phenomenal player. Riley's another terrific player, but they're top heavy, and it's a salary cap situation. So you can't balance out the roster like you can with maybe a talented player that you have to not sign or let go. And the Toronto goaltending has always been suspect. You get to Edmonton, it's the same thing. They have McDavid, they have Draisaitl. Both have been MVPs in the league in recent years. But they have defensive issues. They have goaltending issues. It seems like they can never hit on the right goaltender. Now they have gone from 3-11 to 12-12-1. They've won 7 in a row. There's still time for them to make a dent into the season and do what their ultimate goal is to win a Stanley Cup. Alex, not getting to the playoffs and winning a round or 2 rounds are good enough for the Leafs or for the Oilers anymore. They have to get to the final or they have to win the cup. They can't. It's not like if the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs or Detroit makes the playoffs this year. That'll be a great thing. If they win a round, that would be a bonus. But for the Leafs, for the Oilers, they have to win.
Absolutely. And, I also think that here in New York, we're keeping an eye on the Rangers. And I don't know. I feel like the West more so than the East is a very, very it feels open. I could be wrong, but it feels like open. I know Vegas is up there, but Edmonton has room to grow in that conference, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. They do. And Vegas is very good. The coaching change in Vancouver in the middle of last season with Rick Tocchet coming out of the TNT studio into their coaching position has definitely made a difference for them. The coaches make a difference, and sometimes coaching changes make a difference. So we have to see. We're getting to Christmas time, which is just a little bit short of the halfway mark as we go into the new year. But it's tough to make the playoffs. Look at all the points the Islanders have given away. I mean, they have 33 points. They probably should have 40, but they gave away points because they couldn't hold leads. They might have gotten 1 point because they lost in overtime instead of getting 2. All that stuff adds up for them throughout the league.
One last thing on hockey, because we're going to get to your favorite topic next, and it's got to be discussed. But one last thing, JQ, Jonathan Quick, winning against his former team in his first ever career start against the Kings. I was happy for the guy, and I was hoping to get a shutout, but I was really happy for him to beat the Kings and to keep the Rangers rebound a little bit after a 2-game slide there.
Well, you mentioned a team that in the West, the Los Angeles Kings are another Stanley Cup contender. They have a deep team. They have a physical team. They have an intimidating physical team, quietly intimidating. They're a good defensive team. They definitely have a chance to go deep into the playoffs. The Rangers have a very good chance to go deep into the playoffs. As I said to you, I believe it was either last week or the week before on Terminello's take, I thought Jonathan Quick was finished. I thought he was washed up. And I was wrong. He always was a great athlete. And he is probably the perfect backup goaltender to Shesterkin, who's one of the best in the league. So as we said, and obviously now as we get into the meat of the hockey season, as far as attention goes, with football winding down, we'll talk more about the Rangers. But the Rangers, just like they were last year, the Rangers are in it to win the cup, not win a round, win the cup.
Yeah, and I think Laviolette's changed the culture. You could just see it every game. And that, not saying anything bad about Gallant, but I think there's a culture change that he's brought, and they're just more physical. Jacob Trouba is unbelievable. The way my fiance is a huge hockey fan, so we watch the Rangers religiously, and I'm watching these guys make their hits. And I don't know. I don't remember a more physical Ranger team in the last few years than this one. So it looks promising. Now, your other favorite topic, this in-season tournament. I don't know. I knew if the Knicks were going to win something here, even make a final, they would hang a banner. But sure enough, the Lakers are going to hang the banner of being the champion. I don't know. Is this another thing to put up the rafters, or just kind of stupid right now?
Well, again, in the Lakers' defense, maybe the league said, we want to really make this a prestigious tournament. So you're going to put a banner up there. And it could have been, even if the Pacers had won, put a banner up there, or whoever won. So, let's face it. It's the first time they did it. And they got to tweak it a little bit. But I'll give you my pros on it. I watched a little bit of, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't watch these games from start to finish because I just didn't. But when I was watching the semis in Vegas and the finals, Alex, they were playing harder than they did if it was a regular December game, which is sad because I remember the days when the NBA used to, and they still have the games on Christmas Day. But you would have Magic Bulls, Knicks Pacers. We can go right down the line. And they would be playing so hard, so hard. Lakers Celtics, they didn't need a regular season in season tournament to spice up the regular season. Jordan played 82 games 9 times in his career. One of those 9 times was when he was 39 and a half years old when he was playing for the Washington Wizards. He played all 82 games. Now you have 20-year-old guys who get rest management nights off. It's a joke. But the pros were, I thought the competition was elevated in those nitty-gritty games at the end, those knockout games. Should that have been? No, but that's, I guess, where we are now. And you saw a young Indiana Pacer team was definitely showcased, and Tyrese Halliburton, a young star, showing off how good he is on his way towards superstardom. So, that was the good. The bad, tiebreaker with a point differential in an NBA game where he's scoring up 275 points a game, they kind of come up with a different tiebreaker. Like the Nets, for example, were 3-1, and they lost because to the Celtics because of the Celtics had a better point differential. I don't know how they break that tie. Maybe if it's who wins the most quarters, something like that. At least you're playing for something. But point differential in a league where there's so many points are scored and there's so much garbage points, especially at the end of games, especially early in a tournament where you don't know what you're going to need towards that 4th or 5th game in group play. They got to change that. But again, it was the first year. They're trying to make it a little bit more international because in international play in soccer, that's what they have. The Champions League is going on right now in Europe. And they're basing it on the Champions League type of setup. But I just hope we don't start seeing it in other sports. I really don't. But I think it's going to be here next year. And I'm sure that apparently from what I hear, I hear that next year, it's not going to be the NBA Cup. It's going to be a sponsored cup. And next year, it's going to be sponsored. And it might be sold as a separate TV package from the league TV package. So I don't know. Maybe they'll sell it to Peacock.
And it could be a playoff berth clincher. We'll have to see. One last thing I gotta say on all this, by the way, is Josh Hart admits he's betting on basketball. That's great. Or maybe not basketball, but he bets on sports. So I hope it's not basketball. Just some breaking news on that one. I don't know if you heard that.
Actually, I did not hear that. So you did break some news. But just one more thing before we go. This weekend, 11 of the 32 quarterbacks who started NFL games were either second or third backups. So that goes to show you how important the quarterback position is. You have to have a good backup, and how you can't really look that far ahead to see down the road who's going to be where. It's really a week-to-week league. So I just wanted to throw that in there about the NFL. We were talking about the NFL before, and I meant to throw that in there. But a lot of big games coming up, that's for sure.
Exactly. Well, Lou, one last thing. I don't know if I want to cover it now, but I know you're taking a personal venture that's sports related down to Washington. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes, tomorrow I'll be headed to the United States Capitol. Larry Doby, who was the first Black player in the history of the American League, is being honored tomorrow. He's getting the Congressional Gold Medal. And his son, who I know for many years, and I was a very good friend and a former coworker of Larry Doby Sr. when I was with the Nets, has invited me and another member of the Nets organization from when I worked there, Jim Lamparello, to take part not in the ceremony, but take part in viewing the Congressional Gold Medal going to Larry Doby Sr., and they'll award it to his son, Larry Jr. So I'm looking forward to that.
And of course, we can't let go of Larry Doby Jr. without mentioning the baseball stadium in Patterson was the home, the really start to Larry Doby's professional career, wasn't it?
Yes, he was born in South Carolina, but he was raised in Patterson, and he was a great athlete. He played multiple sports, I think, at LIU, and obviously he was a tremendous baseball player. He played for the Newark Eagles in the Negro Leagues, and Bill Veeck purchased his contract from the Newark Eagles, and he made his debut on July 5th, 1947. And a great guy, and he worked with the Nets. With me, like I said, he was a childhood friend of the owner of the Nets when I joined the Nets back in 1981, Joseph Taub, and he was a good man. He was a good man,
and the same I'm thinking of is Hinchcliffe Stadium. So we gotta do something from there, man. It's a great stadium. We got to do maybe a show from there, or at least cover a game from there. You know?
Yeah, I think the Jersey Jackals play there now. Well,
That's
at least
right.
they passed this past year. They did.
Well, I'm so glad that you got the opportunity to do this. Keep us informed, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have the son of Larry Doby on the show. We'll have to see. That's TBD. I want to clarify one thing. Josh Hart actually only bets on NFL games, so at least it's not his own sport. So there you go. But Lou, thanks again for a great Terminello's take. I think we covered a lot of ground, and we'll do it again next week.
I look forward to it, Alex. Thank you as always.